All right, hi everyone. Welcome to my garden. I'm so sorry, first of all, this was going to be a live stream, but my discovery of the garden is that the internet doesn't reach out here, and weirdly, I don't have any 4G either. So my backup plan had been that it would be perfectly fine to hotspot myself to get to you live, but I'm just going to record it and we'll go from there. Which kind of epitomises everything that's been going on actually for the recent Mercury retrograde energies. You will know if you are part of my community or follow what I write that I generally really don't subscribe to Mercury retrograde as a thing to be scared of, to be afraid of. But this has been real brutal. It's been a really tough few weeks, and personally, and I was born on a Mercury retrograde, so I generally find that this is an energy I flow with. But I've never ever had such a difficult Mercury retrograde ever. MacBook broken, phone broken, no 4G, iPad's got a big scratch in it, got smashed, everything has just not been working. And I think for me that the issues with Mercury retrograde come up when we're trying to push against that prevailing energy. So I'm really aware that I've been desperately trying to push forward, to get roots in the ground here in Brighton. Since I left Cornwall last month, I've been really trying to get all my online courses finished, which have just been beset by their own technical stress and travel stress and internet stress and me not having enough time stress and all these things I've been trying to push, and actually the energy has been about stillness and about coming into ground. So it's unsurprising that every device in my life has just kind of exploded as we've moved through this retrograde energy. So if that has been happening for you too, try not to stress out. I think we are moving through it. Mercury went direct yesterday, so although we're still in retro shade, we're not fully out of the woods yet. We'll still be in this energy, kind of in a kind of decreasing, retreating kind of way for the next few weeks. And we are definitely feeling the end of this kind of hard limitation in terms of going backwards. What really happens with a retrograde is that the planets don't suddenly start going backwards in the sky, which is what some people think. What really happens is that from the perspective of where we are here on Earth, we start to see a planet move back 3 degrees of a sign it's already been through. So in this case, Mercury was moving backwards from 15 back to 5 degrees of Taurus. So it already went forwards 5 to 15, and then it's gone backwards. And now we're just, as of today or yesterday, going forwards again. So all this means is that we're just covering the same ground. You know, when you're kind of going around a roundabout and you miss your turn and you have to go around again and then you miss it again and you're just that person going around the roundabout. I've been doing a lot of that lately. So it's that kind of vibe. We're basically just revisiting the same old energy, but now we're getting another perspective. We've already seen it, so we have a little bit of a sense of what's going on, and we can hopefully start to really figure out what we're going to do with this particular energy. Now, Mercury is always interested in communications, and Taurus is always interested in value and self-worth, resource, and the having of the stuff. So if you haven't already been having a little scratch around the kind of intersection of these themes in your life, then really the stuff around self-worth, around self-esteem, around ascertaining, clarifying and owning, embodying your full worth is really what this energy has been about. And for a lot of us, that's quite uncomfortable. For those of us who are self-employed, it might mean looking at things like pricing structures, saying no to things that involve working for free or not getting paid enough, or maybe having to reassess long-standing contracts or relationships, so that we can be more in alignment going forward. And the Mercury part is the part about communicating. It's not just about, I might need to change these things. It's having to find the voice to actually push forward and live it and do it and speak it, which is really the tough part for most of us. So depending on where Taurus is in your chart, this might be also angled in a particular area of life. So you may have seen me write that my Taurus for me falls across my 4th house, which is the space that deals with home and family, roots, foundations and structures. So it's unsurprising that I've been doing a lot of communicating, kind of revisioning and talking about my home life, the spaces I call home, moving through new shapes of home, what it means to me, what home values are important to me. One thing that's definitely important is good internet, so there's a good lesson going forward. But we are coming out of Mercury, and what I really wanted to talk about on this particular, I was going to say podcast, what is this, a workshop, a live stream, or now a recorded stream, what I really wanted to offer you tonight was a bit of insight on the fact that we've been coming through this quite heavy, slow, quite internally challenging time where we've been looking at things like resources, our value, our self-worth, kind of financials, a bit about romanticism, all of these good Taurian themes through the lens of communication, through Mercury the messenger. And it's been a bit of slow going. It probably feels like we've been repeating ourselves, that we've been kind of making a decision, then having to go back and look at it again and go, do I really want this, or should I just have another think? I know I personally have made the same decision 4 times in the last month, and every time I think I'm done, a few days later I'm like, oh, not quite sure. And it's really unlike me to be super indecisive. So I've really felt, for me, that's how this retrograde's been showing up. And you might notice that patterning or something similar in a part of your life that's showing up in this space. But Mercury moved direct, or stationed direct, yesterday, which means we now can start to see a release of all of this pent-up revisionist energy and start to move forward. And what's happening today, in fact in the last hour, which is really exciting, is that Jupiter has now moved into Taurus. So again, we're still with this big Taurian overview. Taurus, the second sign, is all about resource, the stuff, the material world, like food, drink, luxuriating. I always use the analogy that Taurus, if Taurus was having a bath, just imagine your big Taurian bull in the bath, he would not just be having Radox salts, he would be having, milk and honey and rose petals and a big goblet of red wine. It would be really good red wine as well. I know that's £7 from Sainsbury's rubbish. So it's really about kind of appreciation and luxuriating in the things we have rather than the things we don't have. And that glass half full energy is really actually, I think, the hallmark of Taurus, because what comes before is Aries, which is the kind of, I want it now, let's get started. So we've kind of been in that from a solar perspective, and then we've also been in it from a Jupiter perspective for the last year, where all the pushing forward is about I want, I am, I'm here, I'm coming to own and grab something and embody something. Aries is about getting started. And then Taurus is after the getting started. Taurus is like, okay, we've got started now. It's kind of like a middle distance run. You kind of come out the blocks pretty quick, and then it's settling into a rhythm. How do I make this work? How do I actually bring it into the real world? So Jupiter, which is the planet we're really talking about tonight, is really the benefit. Of all the planets in the solar system, you want Jupiter on your side. Jupiter is where we meet kind of luck and optimism, expansion, abundance, that word again. Jupiter is all about bringing the sweet things in and making them bigger, making them kind of really take root, and often bringing things like travel and learning into the conversation so that we can really bring in the most positive aspect of whatever it is we're trying to grow into. So wherever Jupiter shows up for you is really the part of your chart that is spotlit in terms of opportunity, your potential. So again, it's worth having your chart out. I'll put a link in the notes here, and you can always get one from the link in bio on my Instagram, where you can get your natal chart for free. And there you can have a look and understand which house is active for you in terms of Jupiter and Taurus. These are places which are particularly accented this year, this season for you. However, what we've got right now is Jupiter making a big move. Jupiter is on a 12-year cycle, 12-year path. It takes Jupiter 12 years to do a complete orbit, which means he spends about a year in each sign. So we've had this year of Aries, and today, about an hour ago, Jupiter moved into Taurus, and he'll be there till end of May next year. That's May 2024. So that's plenty of time. That's a whole year for us to get our teeth into this energy. This is not like Mercury, where we have everything going very quickly. In under a month, we kind of need to adjust and keep moving and grieving with what's happening. Actually, with Jupiter, we have a whole year. So we're just at the beginning of a journey, which is going to be through the part of your house that contains Taurus, and very specifically on the themes of opportunity, abundance, positivity, luck, resource, romanticism, wealth, finance, and food. Lots of good things. So for all of us, these Taurian themes are quite prevalent, and I think particularly here in the UK, having come back after a bit of time away, it's really interesting how things like food scarcity and like the having of the stuff, lots of kind of politicians and people in the public eye being, put in the spotlight, and their accounts, their money, their stuff being really kind of delved into, dove into, investigated. There's a real kind of intrinsic curiosity at the moment about the stuff. We're all looking at what other people have or don't have, and looking at what we have and don't have. And Taurus energy is really about that appreciation, that being comfortable with where we are, making sure that we are grateful, giving gratitude every day. And the baseline kind of manifestation practice, I think almost every manifestation program in the world will tell you that the absolute baseline is starting with gratitude for what you have, whatever it looks like, however small it may seem. And that really we're working through in this energy messages of affirmation and mantra to ourselves, that we are perfectly fine where we are, that we have everything we need, and by being comfortable with what we have, by accepting and being grateful for what we have, we can make space to grow that, to expand it into something even bigger, more exciting, and more attuned to and synchronized to our own path. So that's something I think Taurus season is really all about. It is about that, holding in your heart the good stuff, really finding gratitude. And a friend of mine actually, who I know from India, posted something really beautiful today about gratitude on her Instagram, some really nice journal prompts that were around the baseline of 3 things I'm grateful for today, but also, looking around your home, what am I grateful for in my home, even if it's just that really nice frying pan that I really enjoy cooking my breakfast in, or, my favourite cushion that I love to hug. Something really simple. It doesn't have to be technical, overthought, or complicated. And I'll dig out those prompts from Anya and post them as well and a link to her page. I think you'll really like it. But you can do a lot of things in Taurus season around rooting and around kind of calling in this gratitude by really looking at the things that are right in front of you. And this time of year is really helpful because even though my screen's gone off, obviously, thanks Mercury, so I can't really see what I'm doing or saying anymore, I'm assuming you can still see that I'm in the lovely garden with all these abundant greens. Green is a great colour for Taurus. It's emerald season. Emeralds, also rhodochrosite, mangano calcite, rose quartz, obviously. Green and pink, very anahata chakra, very heart chakra. It's a time where we're really kind of moving into just feeling heartful, with 2 L's at the end, about the space we're in. So Jupiter moving into Taurus is something that we can work with over this 12 months. It's a really great energy. Where Jupiter's been in Aries the last year, we've probably all felt quite a lot of push and pull. I know for a lot of people I've seen it for myself, my family, the majority of my clients. It's this slight kind of unease that you kind of need to be doing something. I should be pushing forward. I have got this opportunity. I've got to take it, or I've got to create and carve out a new opportunity. It feels very much about just taking action at any cost, even if it's not really the right time. And that's something I've seen show up for myself, constantly pushing forward, launching things, trying to get stuff off the ground, starting, even though perhaps the foundations weren't there and I wasn't really ready. And I've seen this come back to bite me a lot lately. It wasn't that I was starting things from a bad place. I was simply caught up in this urge to expand and grow Jupiter in Aries fast, quickly, without really thinking it through. So now that thinking it through, the doing the working, the long division part, is the part that Taurus is offering us. So you can still keep hold of all those big ideas, all these opportunities and potential points, but now it's actually about growing from foundations and roots. Taurus is the bull. It's slow and steady. It does not want to rush. The energy is take it easy and just everything will come in its right time. So after all of this rushing and pressure and kind of strangling, real strangulation energy is what I've been noticing, and I feel a lot of people have shared this with me as well. As we move through that, we're now in a place where actually it feels like we can just put that rush down and use this Jupiter in Taurus to go a little bit slower. And I laugh at myself because everyone knows I'm the least slow person in the world, and half the reason I'm so out of control right now is that I've been going too fast. So part of the reason for even holding this session is that I'm going to have to slow my own speech down afterwards. I know I'm going too fast again. And it's really easy when we've been in quite a hectic phase, and Jupiter's that 12-year cycle. We've had a whole year of being in that heat of I've got to do it now. You don't, you can slow it right down. So that's what this season is really all about. It's reflected across pretty much every wisdom tradition and cultural tradition we can look at. Ayurvedically, we're coming towards the end of Kapha season. Kapha is water and earth. It's that kind of heavier season. It's a lot more about being still rather than super active. That comes soon with Pitta, which we move into later into June in Gemini season. In Chinese medicine, we're in the season of wood, which does what it says on the tin. It's pretty heavy. And the wood is basically where we can start to feel into ground and feel into structure and make that feel an awful lot calmer, more peaceful, more grounded. We're working with the liver. It's a detoxification energy. And it's really, really, really good time to pause. And as I say that, I'm just checking that my camera has not paused. And it hasn't, I don't think. And we are going to carry on with just a little bit of sound energy to have a think about what is coming in as we move into Taurus season. So this is generally a very grounding energy that is going to be a lot about roots, about heartbeats, about rhythms. So generally we'd be working with things like drums. I'm not going to do that now because I've got new neighbours, but we're definitely going to have a little look at the big earth gong, which I think is a really supportive sound and frequency as we move into this season. Taurus does really like the ground, and that slow and steady is about finding good footing. And for those of you who are yogis, you'll know that when you go into a balance, for example, which is kind of what we do as we go into Gemini season, into the summer, we lift higher up. Before we do that, we have to ground first. And I was in a really nice hot flow class last night here in Brighton, where there was so much balancing, and you could see everyone falling all over the place and grabbing the walls. And the cue is always to kind of take the time close to ground first. Like, don't start to lift up. Don't start to raise your leg until you've got your standing leg strong. Don't immediately straighten out your standing leg and tip yourself over. Wait till you've got your stability, till you've engaged your core, till you're really rooting all of your toes into the earth, and then you can start to expand into the posture. And this is such a great analogy for Taurus season. It's just asking us to get that grounding right first, to stay low to the ground before we start to expand and send all of our energy out there into the cosmos. So this is something I'm really thinking a lot about, something I've not been doing very well with in the last few months. So I think we definitely could do with some of that core strength first. So sonically, for me, I'm doing a lot of working with the solar plexus energy, and then an awful lot with the root, to try and get them talking to each other, to get that structure and foundation connected to the activation in the fire. Because when the two are not talking, one is kind of firing off and the other is going in a different direction, and we're just not really getting anywhere very quickly. And in fact, all we're probably doing is setting ourselves up to fail. So in terms of your own chart, I really recommend grab your chart. There's always a link in the notes, and there's one in my Instagram link in bio for you as well. Have a look at the part of your chart that contains Taurus, and this is the area of life that's going to be really focused for you in terms of this root to rise followed by expansion, Jupiter energy. I can help you all out. If you need a little resource handbook to help you understand those houses, just let me know. Drop me a message or a DM and I can bounce you back a little document to help you unpack that, and some book recommendations as well. And of course, you can always jump on for a reading, a one-to-one, and we can spend time really going through this in detail, particularly if you have a birthday around now in the next few weeks. It's a solar return season for you. To have Jupiter coming into your sun sign or into somewhere prevalent in your chart at the beginning of a solar return is really supportive. So it's a really nice time to look a little bit deeper into your own energy and to see what this year might hold in terms of the ebbs and flows, the mountains and the valleys. So I feel like I've done a very Aries talk at you for Taurus season, utterly derailed as ever by my technology refusing to play ball. So we'll just put that down to retro shade. It's going to keep flowing through. We're going to definitely see some shifts in the next few weeks. I'm going to start being a little bit more confident about my MacBook after this. But what we're going to do is just have a few moments of sound. We're not going to go super big because I am outdoors in a garden in a residential space, so I don't want to completely upset all my neighbours in week one, but we'll just have a little bit of sound to see how it feels. I'm also really mindful of the sound quality out here, so apologies if this isn't the best thing you've ever heard me put onto a screen. I'm going to bring all my outdoor mics up here next week and we'll get it all set up so that it's really beautiful and sexy for you and a really good sound quality, even out here with all the birds and the trees. But it is Taurus season, so it's very much about spring, ground, earth, bare feet in the grass, being around trees, hugging of the trees. I'm going to quote another friend actually, lovely Ash, who has a beautiful shop in Stoke Newington in North London called Bless. I recommend, if you are interested in tarot crystals and magic in general, that you give it a spin if you're in the area. Ash said to me this morning on WhatsApp that she was thinking a lot about the analogy of staying as the tree when all the leaves are falling from you and around you, and I really like that. It really spoke to me, and I feel like it really is about this Taurus season. It's almost like the leaves is all these kind of ideas and creativity and sparks of everything that's risen up for us as we've moved through a kind of a very chaotic first sort of third to half of the year, and certainly quite an intense Jupiter in Aries year. Everything's just kind of clinging but not that well, and now like the leaves are all falling, and actually what we're left with is this strong foundation, and it's really important that we're able to stay strong in that foundation. Like the yogi, getting their balance right before they let themselves go and start floating. Really work on those roots. If we work slow and steady into the roots in this Taurus season and in this Jupiter and Taurus year, then we are much more likely to see our plans, our visions, our manifestations expand. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. So this is a little bit of sound for you to feel into these energies. I really hope it works in some shape or form. And that's weird. Ashton just messaged me, says a good synchronicity. And I will do a little bit of mastering on the sound. So if you're catching this early on and it feels like it's not quite right, bear with me. I'll probably repost it once I've done a little bit of playing around. So let's let's maybe begin with the gongs. So as always with sound, it's really nice if you can be lying down. I really recommend that you get yourselves into a little cocoon, blanket, stay nice and warm, even listening through headphones. And again, I recommend headphones, noise cancelling if possible. You will probably notice that your body drops in temperature, even just a little bit. So nice and cozy. Lie flat on your back to begin with if you can. Use as many props as feels relevant to you to make you feel nice and comfortable. And we will see how the gongs sound here in their new home. So one thing I would love to suggest you move into is a real state of gratitude. Maybe begin with your long, smooth inhales in through the nose and gentle exhales through the lips, perhaps to a 4-4-8 pattern, inhaling through the nose to 4, holding for 4, exhaling for 8 through the lips. Taking 5 or 6 rounds of that breath to really bring your nervous system into regulation. It's a really great trick for dropping yourself into the parasympathetic system really simply and easily. And it's really beautiful for helping you come into alignment with earth and with ground, really noticing the ground beneath you as you drop into this deep resonant breath. Those exhales are going to drop you straight down into earth's embrace. It's very flowery, isn't it? As you move through these breaths and get yourself prepared, I would ask you to think about 3 things you're grateful for. Perhaps if you've had a particularly rocky road through the Mercury retrograde as I have, you might want to think about things you've really consciously been grateful for as you've navigated the challenges, so that you can really prioritize the things you have over the things you don't have. And then you can perhaps turn your attention to what it is you're looking to expand, where the Jupiter energies are in your life. You might want to think about where Jupiter is in your own chart, if you know it, and use that as a starting point. Or if you want to be particularly appropriate to the transiting astrology, then you can perhaps think about which house contains Taurus for you, which area of life is about to feel the lovely warm glow of Jupiter's magic wand. And you can continue with your lovely deep breaths. Begin just a short journey tonight. wherever you are, feeling the ground beneath you, feeling that steady and safe and secure space, the foundations from which you can grow your potential, your purpose, hopes and dreams, and perhaps taking a final moment of gratitude, maybe moving towards a mantra or an affirmation for this Jupiter and Taurus cycle. Something around worth and self-esteem is really relevant and beautiful and potent right now. So maybe it's as simple as I am worthy or I am enough. Or maybe it's something with a little extra manifesty vavavoom. I am grateful. I am receptive. I am ready to receive abundance. You can stay as rested as you like for as long as you like. This is only a short-ish session this evening. I'm going to record something longer for you tomorrow when there's better light and better microphones and better internet. And in the meantime, I'm just grateful that we have a little bit of time together here and that I have all my beautiful instruments and a beautiful place to live and wonderful people to be spending time with here in this new home, in this new Taurus era for me. And I'm really grateful as always to have all of you in my community and people still showing up and checking in and curious and excited to connect and learn and share and experience together, even when things aren't always as straightforward, as easy or as on time as we'd all like. But thank you so much for your presence. I hope that even 10 or 15 minutes of sound has been something that you have been able to be grateful for, to enjoy, to experience. And for those of you in the south, I've got events coming up here. We have one on Friday in Brighton for the Taurus new moon. For those of you further afield in the southwest, there's events the week after, June the 5th near Newquay. And I will be getting all my kit back together for a nice studio session that will be going online for all of you who are not in either of those places in all the parts of the world. So thank you for being here, and I wish you a beautiful, abundant and glorious Jupiter in Taurus. Know that the Taurus new moon coming on Friday is here to highlight all these themes for us, so you have a couple of days to get your energy into what it is you're expanding, growing, optimizing. And this new moon in Taurus on Friday, which is quite potent, quite fiery, a lot of Mars energy around it, is going to be that trigger to really start pushing forward, but in a slightly different way than before this week. It's definitely move forward, the opportunity is there, but also do it slow and steady, get the foundations in first. Remember, roots down, strengthen the core, and then you can fly. Thank you all for being here, and I really hope I get this sound all right for you. Have a beautiful rest of Tuesday.